All right. Many thanks, Oyemi Ajayi, for that background there. And joining us here in the studio for the conversation, let me make welcome Osita Okechukwu, foundation member of the APC and former Director General, Voice of Nigeria. We thank you so very much for coming.
Good morning, Nigerians.
All right. Also here in the studio with us is Dr. Aminu Hayatu. He is of the Department of Political Science, Bayero University, Kano. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, Nigerians.
Jummai?
Good morning. Let's begin. We've been having this conversation on Good Morning Nigeria since Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And I think this is the fourth conversation on the legacy of President Muhammadu Buhari. I would like to start with you, Mr. Osita. Can you summarize the overall legacy of President Muhammadu Buhari in just a few words?
You can classify his legacies, one, as a humanist who sincerely believes that the public interest is more important than his, and did all he could towards that all through his service career. That even when, a few months after resumption of office in 2015, the first thing he did was to calculate how many workers of Nigeria, both federal and state, are being owed. How many pensioners are being owed. And it came to about 1.2 trillion. He told the finance ministry, please, release accordingly. On the economic sphere, he opposed the removal of subsidy, both as military head of state and a civilian president, until he left office, and the devaluation of Naira. And his economic argument was very simple. He said when the push came as military head of state, he refused adamantly and was part of why he was overthrown. When he came back again, the push came again, removal of subsidy, devaluation of the Naira. He promised that he will embark on what he called the Anchor Borrowers Program. We asked him, Mr. President, why so? He said, one, the only export Nigeria has is oil. It's already sold in dollars. Let us create the groundnut pyramid, the palm oil for export, the cocoa for export, and others. If I could achieve that, I would devalue the currency.
To diversify the economy.
Diversify the economy. You come to the political space. By the time we joined him in 2002, our primary objective, we were led by Right Honorable Chubok Kadibo, blessed memory. He told us that Nigeria was going to a one-party state under the then President Obasanjo. More aggressive pursuit than in today's so-called one-party state. Because the regime then crippled the AD, Alliance for Democracy, that was in charge of the Southwest. Made sure that AP was nowhere until Buhari came in 2002. And subsequently, I remember the day we went to the National Assembly when it was the third-term debate. He first met the Speaker, went to the President of the Senate, and held meetings with them. They said, okay, you can go, we'll do our best. He said, no. He went to the gallery. On the last debate when Kenny Namani, as then Senate President and his colleagues, stopped the third term. That is on the political space. Where do I go next? Insecurity, some people might say what they're saying. But the truth of the matter is that I was here when the police headquarters were bombed, the UN headquarters were bombed, and about 18 or thereabout local councils in Borno State and others were trampled upon. I'm not saying that security had gone, but if you know how much he invested in security and the effort he put in, and how much he invested in agriculture, because his mantra was, produce what you eat. It might not work the way we thought, but I know some farmers who benefited immensely from his gestures.
So what would you consider his most underappreciated contribution to national development?
One, that those, if you want to preside over the country, place public interest above self. If he can do so, the Constitution, as Obasanjo said yesterday, the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic is not as bad as painted. But it's the question of, are you placing our interest above yours? Because they will tell you in legalese that the fundamental objective and directive principle of state policy is not justiciable. And you now ask them, as a president, you are taking oath of office. And you will, in that oath of office, he said, I will preserve the fundamental objectives and directive principles of the state policy as enunciated in this Constitution.
Right.
That is the social contract. Buhari believes in it.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Okechukwu, for your opening remarks. Now, Dr. Aminu Hayatu, from an academic and analytical lens, how would you situate the former President Buhari's 8 years within the broader evolution of Nigeria's democratic leadership?
Okay, thank you very much once again. I think it's important that as Nigerians, we realize that the man, former President Muhammadu Buhari, is one that you can vividly describe as a principled person. Principled in the sense that he was the military person who was very steadfast and very firm when he was the military leader of the Nigerian state. And we have seen him acted like a military man. That was why when he came and joined democracy, he pleaded to Nigerians that he is going to be a transformed man now. It will no longer be General Muhammadu Buhari. He would now be President Muhammadu Buhari, which is indicative of the fact that he is ready to comply with all the rules and regulations and the laws governing the proper conduct of Nigeria in accordance with the Nigerian Constitution. And what we have seen was a completely different man when he was in power as a democratic president. He was democratic in all his approaches, to the extent that his style of leadership was that of a laissez-faire that people misinterpreted to be weakness in many cases. It was because he believed in the rule of law that he had to allow the institutions and the system to function in accordance with the provision. That is the reason why we didn't see the man, President Muhammadu Buhari, meddling in the affairs of the National Assembly. That was why he had a tough National Assembly, because he gave them all the freedom to practice their rights, as against what we've seen in previous instances, where they are being controlled from some quarters, underground and so on, with a lot of politics permeating the National Assembly. We've seen the judiciary also allowed to function. And in fact, just recently, after his demise, that we've seen people, friends who had participated with him in politics and who were close to the government at that time, come out to give us revelations confirming that he has never, ever, for once, met anyone to say, this is the way I want it to be. Go and do the job for me. As against what people might think when people are taken to court, probably it was his interest. He was the one who really wanted them held. No. The Economic Financial Crimes Commission, we saw people saying that there was never a time when he meddled in their affairs. Go and get this one for me. I want this one, tried and so on. We have also seen his lieutenants, those even in his kitchen cabinet. And that is the reason why, even on the issue of insecurity, you see people panicking to say, why wouldn't the president do this and that? The Constitution has specified responsibilities for every public servant. And he believes that if you are the chief of army staff, all that he needed to do was to make sure that he has provided you with all that you need to work with in order to, protect the integrity of Nigeria. And then also the police and other security agencies. So this is actually one of the most important points and thin line that people are now getting to realize, after he has left. Because even when he was alive after office, it still didn't come out very clear. Some people were very critical of his leadership style. But I think this is one of the limitations. I won't say limitations anyway, but this is one of the way that people's leaders' hands are tied in democracy. That even if they see something, they would have jumped in to do their own, to add their own interest into it. They could not have done that because of the restraints that's put on each of the responsibility specified by the Constitution. And Muhammadu Buhari, the other thing that people actually are getting also to realize is that he is the only person that we are sure no one has ever come out in this country to say that he has asked me for a favor. We saw Aminu Masari talking there that he was the governor of Katsina State. Buhari was the president of Nigeria. They came from the same state, but he has never sent anybody to him to ask for favor or to even call him to say, this is what I want, for that length of time that they stayed together in power. This is really incredible. You rarely see this with presidents in even the most developed countries in the world doing this. We see meddling in America by President Trump and all of that, open. The other thing that you could really give it to President Muhammadu Buhari is the fact that that incorruptibility that he came with in his track record, he served. And I mean, you could see that when he started his career as a military man, his friends that joined the military together with him had testified just recently that they knew he was such disciplined and incorruptible even from the academy. And when they came out, they started their career properly. They have never found him wanting or seen him getting involved in anything that is corruption. And he maintained that record until his last breath, where even in the dirty waters of politics, people have not come out to say he has manipulated this or done that. And that was why we saw when his wife was not happy with him, she came out in the media and made all sorts of utterances. And he said, why won't you allow her to express her opinion? This is the democratic man, the transformed military, strict military general to a very democratic president.
Yes, we all know very strict, general then when he was head of state, where the war against indiscipline and all that. And I like the fact that you said he was incorruptible, even in the dirty waters of politics. I like that exactly, Mr. Osita. President Buhari, when we talk of corruption, everybody say he's incorruptible. He rode on the vehicle of fight, anti-corruption. So how effective was he in fighting corruption within government institutions in Nigeria?
That's a good question, my sister. It's a very difficult question as well, because I told you in the first few months of his regime, because of his monetary type, he voted 1.2 trillion. Some state governors were owing up to 27 months. Some were owing 20, 15, down the line. Bipartisan. I think APC then was the highest, if I remember. One APC governed state was the highest. But he said it doesn't matter. Whether APC or not, I'm going to pay. And one report got back to him that in Wapa in Kano, where they sell foreign exchange, in Sheraton Hotel, where they sell foreign exchange in Abuja, in Broad Street in Lagos, Owerri Street in Enugu, that price of dollars have gone up, it might be linked up to this money you released. He said, well, as the doctor said, I'm a convert Democrat who run a federalism. And the governors are not small boys. I take it upon humanity that they should know how families suffer when you do not pay their breadwinner. And if they don't do so, it is between them and God. That is part of what hampered. Because as he said, President Buhari was on the extreme side of delegation of powers.
But people call it that is his weakness, saying, okay, people will have to pay to God if they don't do what they are supposed to do with monies agreed to them.
I might not call it weakness because it's always good, to say that kindness, even in primary school, those our classmates who are kind, we always classify them as weak people. Unless if we are trying to elevate wickedness. But I'm saying that one of the legacies and milestones we must uphold on his behalf is to place public interest above self, and also to fight the anti-graft war. Because no nation develops when money meant for projects are converted into private use. No nation. And you cannot, take for instance, in today's Nigeria as well, President Tinubu, in his own ingenuity, went to the Supreme Court and got a judgment over a year ago that the local council should have financial autonomy. Do you want President Tinubu now to leave Aso Villa and start running from one state to the other to tell the governors to implement it? It becomes difficult. Tinubu's intendment, which is genuine, is that if the local councils will control their funds, they will know what is good for the villagers.
All right. Following off from the last comments of Mr. Okechukwu, Dr. Hayatu, how do you think his administration, shaped or failed to shape, institutions across the country? Talk about the civil service, the judiciary, security apparatus, for instance.
Well, he actually came at almost the wrong time for him, for his integrity. Yes, his integrity that he came with was almost like a wrong time, because he had to battle and deal with a lot of things that had tampered his integrity, to the extent that a lot of supporters who had previously believed in him left him and thought, you saw Buba Galadima, they came all the way. And we've seen a number of politicians who have fell out with him. We've seen even his followers, the massive followers that he have across the country. Some of them had at one time dropped. This is because you needed an experience to be a participant in governance, to be able to experience and understand what he sees there on that seat. You are here confronted because they used his past record and antecedents to judge him, that he has the powers now so he can do anything. He can walk up and pick up corrupt people wherever they are and chase them. They believe that.
Like in 1985?
Like in 1985. And it's not the case anymore. We have institutions of democracy that have specific functions which must be allowed to function. Otherwise, you are still a dictator. And he didn't want to be that. So the Constitution, for example, provided that you must draw ministers from across all the 36 states of the Federation. If you have to do that, it means you also have to allow the party to do the preliminary activities of identifying which people are these. Now it's no more your sole, determination to. Yeah. So the party people have their interests, they have their selfish aggrandizements and so on, that they impute into the process of recruiting those who will serve in government. And this is very important because now if you don't have anybody in Jigawa that you believe in to be your minister, you'll still have to take someone. And that person is coming to work closely with you in the presidency. What it means is that even if you don't trust him, you have to give him what Constitution has given him. So this kind of restraints that democracy placed on the president in our Constitution is what has given him the difficulty to have absolute control over what happens under his leadership. But it's important also to state that we have traits. All of us have our personality traits that we exhibit either in government or, socially. And these personality traits differ. His own is such that when he believes that this is your responsibility and he believes that you can perform, he would just allow you to go ahead and do what you are supposed to do.
But then, if you say he believes that you can perform, you just allow you to go ahead and do what you are supposed to do. Now, this you have called being democratic. I remember in his time, some said he was too aloof, not taking, not intervening because he was head of government. Yes. He was leader of government, and the buck stopped on his table. So would you say that he was too democratic for his own good?
Yes, the same people are waiting for him to, intervene and ask, for example, if he's dissatisfied with a minister, what they would expect him to do is either to remove him or to go ahead and implement something that the minister should have done that he didn't do, for example. And this entails all sorts of instability that is going to characterize your leadership. So because leadership, that's why there are different styles of leadership. That's why earlier I said he's a laissez-faire leader. And a laissez-faire leader allows too much democracy to take place under his control. But that's why I said his personality trait is that people interpret some of these things as weakness. Because we have leaders who would give you responsibility and they will check your excesses by any other means that they can do. And this is special skills. So I think he personally lacks that. Because I can tell you a number of people that I know, if they are in his shoes, they will still be democratic and they will find their way to call their subordinates to order, whether they like it or not. So that's part of what I see as his personality trait. Yes, his own shortcomings. And then the other shortcoming is that when people trusted that, you could see, even on the rare cases where it is seen as if the government has interest in cases that are in court, for example, Namdu Kanu's case, Dasuki and all of that. People jumped up from their beds and say, no, you are being high-handed here because we believe the president has interest, that is why all these things are happening. This is even in cases where we are now getting the information that he has never talked about them privately with anybody to say, this is what I want. So it is important we understand this and analyze it behaviorally so that we can understand how the natural design that God has made in some people. And the other thing that actually has made some people to think that his administration was weak was the fact that when he came in, it took him a very long time to scrutinize who are going to come on board, the ministers. It took him a very long time. People were criticizing him for taking too much time to select his ministers and so on. So it was believed that by the time these ministers are on board, that Nigeria is going to be. But what we saw was something different. So I think these limitations in terms of what the Constitution provides had actually hit him so badly that, and he's not someone that comes out and talks too much. We heard it from his daughter. She says, even when they complain to him that, Baba, the people are doing this and that, and he said, just leave them. So he rarely talks, And so you don't even know what explanations he has for the many accusations and allegations against him. He doesn't respond to that, and it gives a lot of difference.
Yes, I believe to him silence is golden. You know,
Yes.
Mr. Osita, the President President Muhammadu Buhari, late President Buhari, came at a time when, in 2015, when there was a lot of insecurity and things wasn't working across the country. He came in, stabilized it a little, went through 3 recessions actually, and then bam, in his second term, just months into it, COVID-19 came. Can you talk about how he handled this economic, his economic policies, especially the recessions, and how he handled the COVID-19 era?
Thank you very much. But before then, please,
Okay.
I wanted to address some of the doctor's position.
Okay, go ahead.
The point of the matter is that the country had gotten so much weakened by individuals. Whether you are strong-headed or dictatorial in running the administration, you cannot whip everybody. For instance, the Petroleum Industry Act, it took years. Buhari facilitated it. I don't know how he also implemented it by himself. There's what is called the Fifth Amendment, where there were complaints that why electricity is not there is because it's so centralized to the federal government. He succeeded in amending that section of the Constitution that gives every governor powers to generate, transmit, and distribute electricity. I think it's only Obasanjo. I don't have another history. Will he implement that? Just as I referred to financial autonomy of local council, Tinubu got the judgment on. We have to look inwards. It's difficult to drive people in this country. It's becoming very difficult because we are now so self-centered that any little assignment we are given, we can stand in front of who delegated the power to us and say, yes, sir, we'll do it, we'll do it. The next day, we'll do another thing. We must look into that attitude. It's not about Buhari.
But that's why you have the power to hire and fire.
You will fire plenty.
Why did you...
Why was the Voice of Nigeria?
Me and not hire Jumai?
No. Can I tell you, the little organization I did in Voice of Nigeria for a few years, I would transfer this director for incompetence, either to Lagos or to Enugu or to Kano. Appoint another one. That one might end up not
Worse
being...
than...
Yeah, exactly.
I'm telling you, there's a crisis point that attitudinal change
It's
we
needed,
need
in the system.
anything we are doing, we need to change our psyche on attitude to love this country, to place the objective of the whole country as one. It's lacking. It's lacking. If you micromanage, I know a governor who was very close to me. By 3 a.m., he had not gone to bed. One time I asked him, Governor, what is that? He said, sister, look at this. If you close your eyes, you are finished. I say, how long will you be awake? So I'm saying it's a problem. On the issue of the economy, you're very correct that when we came, there was glut, a global glut, that it was sold less than $40 per barrel. So it impacted on the budget profile of Mr. President. Before you say Jack Robinson, as you said, COVID-19 came. But what saved matters was the fact that he said we should focus on diversification of the economy. That for him, 70% of Nigerians are into agriculture. And most of them are rural-based subsistence. He empowers the National Land Development Agency, fertilizer, I think he had with Morocco and who again? just to make fertilizer cheap for farmers. NIFO and all those other research institutes were empowered for seedlings and others. I think it was Lagos and KB. He encouraged states, small millers, were funded. If you know the number that were funded, that today, comparatively, the importation of rice could have jumped over the roof. But those were the incremental gains of those era. So he looked into it that the best is to depend on agriculture, produce what you eat, no matter how you go about it. And he called the central bank governor, I would know, but it was then Minister of Agriculture. In fact, he went to the extent that there's what he called the Green Imperative Project, where Brazil agreed that, because Brazil runs a tropical climate like us, they came here and did a survey and knew what farm implement is good for the north, is good for the east, is good for the west, and compiled it. It came to about euro, 1 billion euro project. And Islamic Development Bank and Dutch Bank agreed to not only to fund, to insure it. Unluckily, with the COVID, Brazil lost funds and couldn't meet up a loan. So it was now a question of trying to recoup funds from other places. I think President Tinubu is still on it. So those were the areas that helped the Nigerian economy to trojan out of 2 recessions. And don't forget as well, he established the Sovereign Wealth Fund that he used to fund projects like the second Niger Bridge directly. He asked Fashola at a point, the then Minister of Works, why is it that we have not completed one federal road? Fashola said, Mr. President, there's a paradox. When you list 10 roads and you have a little fund like 300 billion, you go to the National Assembly, the members there will start fixing their village roads. And you told me, sir, that I should not quarrel with them. Immediately it's passed, it becomes law. So you are now mandated to split that small fund down the line. So they said, okay. Mr. President said, okay, bring 6 roads. Those big companies that have huge tax bills will mandate them to pay directly to the contractors after the Ministry of Works has certified their works. That's how the Apapa Port Road to town was given to Dangote Group. Some in the north was given to Boa. MTN got Enugu, Onitsha. So they said, please, leave these budget people. Ministry of Works, just certify the road they have done. Give the companies the bill out of the tax they will pay to federal government. Let them do those roads. So those were some tactical economic
initiatives.
This is quite revealing.
Yeah, that he
most
did.
Nigerians don't know what went down, when it comes
The AKK road, Kaduna Abuja road, all those were handed out to those big companies from their taxation after certification by the Ministry of Works.
How would you describe him in terms of his disposition towards his personal staff, his aides? Would you think, because a lot of people blame the people around powerful men, people in power, for influencing them negatively, either for not giving them accurate information or for misleading them one way or the other, would you think that he also fell prey to the people around him?
It is very unfair for me to talk about that because most of them are my friends.
Okay, I will talk about that. I will come to your aid.
If you want to pass it on, Dr. Ayatu.
Yes. Actually, I was, as if you knew that was what was in my mind that I was here to address. I really wanted to say that the president had a lot of people. I mean, that's normal. Anywhere in the world, you must have people that are in the kitchen. And then all of them are, in fact, your appointees. So, but the point is that whether they are, the question is whether they are patriotic themselves or not. If you are unlucky to have unpatriotic people or people who do not really have the country at heart as much as you do, then they are likely to involve in a lot of shady things that you can hardly be able to see, because they are the closest to you. And you can only know through other people when they bypass them to come and tell you, this is what your people are doing. Those, the closest to you, would definitely not allow others to access you once they suspect that you will discuss something that is implicating with the president, that's incriminating. And this is what has happened almost throughout Buhari's presidency. He believed that these are people he brought close to them because he knew their antecedents and he knew they were very hardworking, honest, and they had delivered. He has trusted them. For example, a few of them actually, were very honest with him, and they were sincere. They did what they were supposed to do. I can mention the former Minister of Education from Bauchi. What do you call him?
Adamu.
Adamu. He was his former chief of staff at PTF. So he knew him. He knew what he could do. And Adamu, until he left office, was a very straightforward public servant, and he did what he could do. There were a few of them. But there were many of them who had actually blocked people from accessing him and showing him the mirror to see what is happening around and in the country. And that has really, and like I told you, because he's a democratic man, he believed that the way he trusted you, he expects that you deliver without any problem. And a lot of water has passed under the bridge anyway. But we had pockets of issues like that had really, pulled his effort backwards in terms of achieving what, and in terms of even delivering the expectations of Nigerians. For example, there was a time when Nigerians believed that the popular word cabal. Mm-hmm. Someone who is, and I believe that had to do with his age, and this is what even he had brought in this idea that we need to rethink our leadership recruitment style in Nigeria process, because I understand that if he was much more energetic, like he was younger when he was in the military, he would have acted otherwise, even if he was a democratic person. He would have definitely found ways to move around places. But you could see that at some point he's finding it even difficult to travel, to go to places. Soldiers were killed in Maiduguri or in the Zamfara and places. He would send his condolences messages, and that was all. If he was more energetic than that, he would have found his way physically to places where he said it himself.
Mr. President said it himself, that how I wish. This was my first comment.
But would you then think that post his administration, when some expositions came about the people in his government that he trusted, would you think that he regretted?
You may think that some of these things you call expositions are only expositions to Nigerians. They give him the newspaper they want him to read. Yes. They control everything around the president. The president doesn't go out to buy papers.
They put the station on TV.
They put the station that someone is saying the president is the best person. This is what I'm telling you, the danger of cabinet. If you are lucky, you have the best hands, and they are relatively honest. Let me say this. You could get some level of patriotism to play in your government. But President Buhari, they know him, and they read him very well. They knew they knew what he wanted. They knew that it was honesty he would always put in the line of things ahead of every other thing. So they knew how to really manipulate things and show him that all is going well and people are praising and all of that. And that was why, if you saw the interview, there was one interview he granted in Hausa with one Halilu Ahmad Geso, of FRC and Kaduna, I think. Halilu Ahmad Geso is from Kano, yes. He granted in the presidency Hausa interview. When people sat to listen to the interview, they were wondering whether it was the president of this country saying some of the things he said, because he was really showcasing many of the achievements that he had made. And when they tried to explain to him some of the where problems are, he would give an explanation that you definitely know he must have been fed by someone close to him wrongly. So these were the things, and because of age, like I told you, we need to rethink this way that we recruit our leaders. Because for me, there is nothing President Buhari, and you must give this to him, there is nothing President Buhari did on power that it was deliberate to undermine Nigeria. This one, nobody, no matter how you hate him, you must be able to say that this he's not associated with.
Yes, his love for Nigeria was open. People could see how much he loved Nigeria. Let's now come to your forte. That's the education sector. Buhari's administration witnessed, repeated ASU strike. So what does that tell us about his education policy?
I'm an ASU member. And I'm an active one in my branch as well. I didn't hold any position, but I was an active member. So I know what we experienced and what we've gone through as a result of that. Actually, what really happened was that Buhari, when he was the president, needed to be guided on what policies on education should be taken. Unfortunately, the people that handled the education sector at that time and the labor ministry, put heads together and saw ASU as an enemy. And the reason why they did that was because they kept alluding to the fact that the 2009 agreement that was signed into during President Yar'Adua should not have been entered into between ASU and the federal government. So they were very bitter about it. They were not happy that that agreement was signed because ASU kept referring to that 2009 agreement. But it was clear to everyone, and even the international community knew, the commitment to education at that time was that the minimum that a government which wants to develop should commit to education sector was the minimum of 25% to its total annual budget to education sector alone. That didn't happen. The agreement captured that. The agreement captured the issue of welfare of academic staff, which, if you do not provide that, will affect even the integrity of the education sector and the relationship between students and their lecturers. The issue of other remunerations and many other things. They are just straightforward labor agreements that do not violate, that are in standard with the International Labour Organization's provisions, which Nigeria is signatory to in the United Nations. So we see all these things happening, and then because some people are antagonistic to that, they extended that antagonism to involve the president, who would be briefed that these are selfish people who want to get more despite what they are given and so on. And then Buhari has appointed finance minister, education minister, education advisor, and all the other apparatus under that structure to operate on behalf of the Nigerian government. And then he had to take what came from. That was why I told you another person who is less elderly would have gone around to give this thing. So the experience that he had with them, I'm sure if you had allowed Buhari and ASU to interface directly, it would have been a different story.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Hayatu. You might understand we have quite a number of messages.
Plenty messages.
But
take some before we go on break.
All right. My name is Lionel Ndoka from Abo, Delta State. Says, the former president, Muhammadu Buhari, has laid a good foundation for the upcoming generation who may, in one way or another, aspire to become a president, not only in Nigeria, but in the entire Africa. His legacy will last for generations to come, and his memory will never be wiped out of our hearts as Nigerian citizens. That's the much we'll take from this one. And another reads, the hero has gone. The president that put smiles on the faces of graduates has gone. I will not forget his impact in our lives through Empower program. Adieu Buhari, may your soul rest in perfect peace. No name, unfortunately. And another without name. Good morning, Nigeria. The death of former President Muhammadu Buhari is painful. May his soul rest in perfect peace. Amen. And from Joy Gogwem, from just south, PMB's loss is a huge loss to the country. He did the best he could, and any Nigerian that complains is entitled to his or her opinion. We Nigerians are not disciplined. That is why when God gave us PMB, Nigerians had high expectations without putting their own personal efforts. Again, we'll end it there too long. I want to appreciate the late former president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for introducing agriculture and reducing hunger and poverty. No name. Another reads, Baba Buhari, who was once a military head of state, who turned to become complete Democrat. He is a prototype of good breeding and a standardized human, worthy to be pointed out as a role model. That's from Saho Babao from Kantagura. And good morning, my name is Juliana Shakop from Jos Plateau State. I want to condole the entire nation and his family for his loss. May God grant his soul a peaceful rest. He has touched many people's lives. All right, and from Engineer Liu Ahmed, the lifestyle of late President Muhammadu Buhari has shaped many Nigerians positively. He was a man of integrity, an honest man and a dear friend to the poor. May Allah SWT forgive his shortcomings and grant him Al-Jannatu Fidausi. Amin. That's from Engineer Liu Ahmed. And finally, from Ben also, I looked at him as a good socialist who pursued welfare policies. This was rooted through the creation of Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development. This was to develop humanitarian policy and intervention against poverty. Jumai?
I will get to read mine. You respond to the reactions coming from Nigerians, since we lost former president.
That he's a
beautiful,
humanist.
yes, beautiful reactions.
He's a humanist.
Yes.
That places public interest above self.
So, can you react to that?
That's what I'm saying.
Nigerians are showing their love. No, they didn't show it while he was in office most of the time.
No, they
the
did.
criticism was high.
You need to know,
Yeah.
if you were going around with us for campaigns, you see the solidarity, the amity between him and the people. Why is he called Megaskia? The question on the ground today is the 12 million votes bank he established. Who will be the manager of those banks? Nobody. As of today. The late President Shagari, when we were doing the Aminu Kano Memorial, we approached him for chairmanship. He said, yes, I'm going to. That is only Aminu Kano and Buhari that had the followership in the north, just like Awolowo had in the west and Sikh in the east. And both of them, you can't beat them. But even him, as a president, that Aminu Kano was more popular than him. He said they were both teachers. They established what they call the Friendship Society. They were having meetings from one town to the other. But when he disconnected from the meeting was the last time they held in Sokoto. 2 days later, the Sultanate called him and said, don't follow those people. But they remain friends.
Yes,
Yeah, they remain friends. Okay, let me take some of the text messages. And from Mohammed Awal Musa at Afame, he said, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant PMB the highest peak of Jannah and forgive his sins. My sincere condolences. Good morning, Nigeria. And from Engineer Idris Nuren at Denirong, he says, greetings to you all at NTA. PMB honestly personal discipline, and anti-corruption stance are undeniable. His legacy is the restoration of moral accountability in government. Let all political appointees know that for every opportunity given to you to serve, there must be responsibility to deliver, and for every appointment, there's accountability before mankind and God. What could be said about me and you at your death? Rest in peace, PMB. And this one without name said, let PMB is indeed a humble man and cherish living a natural life, not to impress anybody, but to regard himself equal with fellow human beings before Allah, R.I.P. PMB. Another one said, good morning, house. Buhari was a good man. May Almighty Allah forgive his shortcomings and admit him to Al-Jannah Firdaus for the effort he made for Nigeria and Nigerians. From Jafaru Yakubu Loko from Nasarawa State. And former President Buhari has done a lot as a human being, a disciplined man of integrity and highly respectful leader, not only in Nigeria but the entire world. May his soul rest in peace. That's Yusuf Muhammad from Kano. And this one said, I came into this world with nothing and I am going to live with nothing. Why should I steal? That's attributed to former president, late President Muhammadu Buhari. Said, I'm celebrating my legendary president, not mourning. A man that has all the opportunities to steal but cost not to. As a minister, governor, PTF, and president, both military and civilian, he decided that his integrity is above materialism. Not even his enemies attest to his dedication, integrity, rule of law, righteousness, not because of this day that he died. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you the best of Al-Jannah Firdaus. That's coming from Idris Adamu Gwada. From Adewale, Buhari was a very humble man. His death was a very painful one. May his soul rest in peace. And from Fatih G from Adama said, I pray to Allah to grant President Buhari Al-Jannah Firdaus. I also want to appreciate President Tinubu for the wonderful role he played during the burial of our hero. Another one said, good morning and you're well done. I just want to appreciate the government, the respect given to burial program of late President Buhari. May God reward everyone and spare our lives more from Badruddin or your state. No one said, good morning, Masa. Mr. Osita, did you think Nigerians will have another PMB again? Dr. Mwaduke and you will soon publish a book on PMB because Nigerians are waiting. Ismail Kefas from Gogalada in Abuja. No one said, good morning to you. Thanks so much for the program on Legacy of Buhari. Let our political leaders be prudent and sincere to serve the country and have good legacy. He was not out to amass wealth because of his fear of God and love to humanity. He had made good name. Those in office should copy him. We have so many coming in. And then another one said, the late Muhammadu Buhari exemplified exceptional leadership qualities marked by discipline and steadfastness. His unwavering dedication to public service and unrelenting commitment to fighting corruption earned him respect. As a leader, he set high standards and led by example, promoting a culture of accountability. May his rest in peace. That's coming from Chikedim from this Delta State. We'll take a break. Yes, yeah. We'll take a break. When we return, we'll read out more of your messages. Keep sending them. Good morning, Nigeria. We'll be back soon.
All right, we thank you for staying with us. We've been discussing the legacy of the late former President Muhammadu Buhari, who died on Sunday. Well, let's get back to the conversation. And let me get to Mr. Okechukwu. Now, you worked around the media team, well, I would say, because the extended media team. Because if you weren't personal aid, when it becomes a matter of media planning and all of that, all of you will probably pull in. I'm just wondering how you would describe his personal discipline and decision-making. A lot has been said about that, but how was his temperament in dealing with the people around him, especially in moments of national pressure?
That's a good question. It's like what Doctor was saying. The link between him and any decision is the presenter. Like when the ASU issue came, unluckily for me, I wasn't around. By the time I came back, I went to him. I deliberately made the school fees of the private universities like Afe Babalola and others. I grouped it as one. I said, okay, those that go abroad. I said, sir, these classes that stopped in the Talakawa universities. He said, oh, sir, do I mean that? I said, look at the fees in the private schools. This is the percentage of the number of students of Nigeria that are there. From ABU to University of Nigeria, back to Calabar, this is their own. He was shocked. He said, but sister, they said they demanded so huge billions. I said, sir, must you pay in one day? He was so shocked. He called one of Adamu wasn't around then. He was sick. He was in Germany. He said, sir, can you come back the next day? Before I could get to the office, the call started coming. What did you tell Mr. President? What did you tell Mr. President? So for him, if they have told him that is a bulk accumulation of debt owed to ASU, and this is where those are beloved type. Because he told me, yes, my own is abroad, I know the cost. It don't mean. I said, sir, look at the huge studentry that have been stopped from going to school for months. Well, so for him, if he paints the picture, it's like he won dinner. By that time, David West was sick, Professor David West. So he was asking me after this person, that person, that person. I said, sir, do you know the problem you have? About 4 times I had dinner here with you. We are not up to 9. And the table had 32 seats. He said, what are the 32 seats for? I said, it should be scheduled for you to see different people, to have dinner with them and breakfast. That's one is done all over the world. Especially the timings, depending on your timings. The next morning, Osita, you came here, you were talking to Mr. President about what?
you see
I said for him to see his friends and see some cadres of business cadre, clergy, both Christian, Muslim, studentry, even legislators. Sometimes it's not possible for some senators to see him. I said the senators are 109. If he's scheduled well, before the year runs out, you will meet most of them one-to-one. And then I whisper something to you. I was so excited. The next morning was that, you see, you just come here to cause confusion.
You know, that is what a beautiful soul does. And, you know, his image, you know, transcends Nigeria to the outside world. Dr. Aminu, how would you rate Buhari's administration in shaping Nigeria's image on the international stage?
You see, that presidency you see is an illusion. Many of the people that are thinking that the president should have done this, he could have taken this measure on this issue and so on, it's just because they are not there. So even Buhari himself saw these realities when he became the president and understood what he could have not even imagined when he was not the president. You recall that he was part of this fuel subsidy issues during President Goodluck Jonathan. He was very critical of it and critical of many other measures that the government of Goodluck Jonathan took. But when he came on board, you know, people wondered why he was not able to take measures on the issues he criticized. That was because there was a disparity between the realities when you are president and what people see from outside. And I think, despite that, he was really able to. One thing you could take home about him is that he welcomed new ideas, he welcomed development programs for him to sign and include into the budget. Many of them he has approved, many of them he was briefed of their progress, but in reality, a lot of things, fishy things were happening underground. And this is what has really prevented his achievement to be even more than what we saw as president. But when you begin to count, for example, my learned colleague here said, we see a situation where in the area of agriculture, in the economy, in infrastructure, and even in education and many other sectors, he has really, moved the banners to the front as against the way he met them. And we haven't conducted any statistics or any research anyway to get the figures about to say certain percentage of development. But you could say that there was significant improvement from the way he met the country. There's a difference between when you come and meet everything is going fine, it's just to continue. In the styles of leadership, there is one that is incremental, and there is one that is rationalist comprehensive. The rationalist comprehensive one is that you have to start everything from the scratch. And that is almost what Buhari had to do. But the incremental is when Buhari has done a lot of refinements and has corrected many of the abnormalities, and then somebody comes and increases on that. So Buhari had that challenge that he had to upturn virtually everything that was going wrong when he came on board. And he did his best. He was battling with corruption. You are fighting corruption. Some of the people that are supposed to are supposed to advocate that message on your behalf are themselves corrupt. We have seen situations where he was disappointed with some of his appointees, but they would connive with some people in power, people in the EFCC and even in the judiciary, to bypass processes and not to get them tried. So many things were happening beyond his control. That was why when he left now, and when President Bola Ahmed Tinubu came on board, we saw how some of these challenges stared him in the face the moment he took up the position of leadership in this country.
Yeah, the beauty of it all is he didn't interfere in the judicial matters of if his minister or anybody is arrested. He didn't interfere.
Yeah, I was going to ask Dr. Dalhatu, one area that was much talked about, which was often under scrutiny, was his relationship with federal character and, regional balance. So would you say his administration managed diversity effectively, or did it, knowingly or unknowingly really deepen certain divides?
You see, there's a difference between appointment as much as, the balance, where it is categorically stated that there is need for balance. Yes, or the federal cabinet, stated by the Constitution. That one you cannot tamper with.
But I guess it goes beyond that.
Yes, but the thing is that you cannot challenge him in the court of law to say that he has a lopsided appointment favoring one part of the country.
What about morality?
The reason is because that one requires him to bring on board people he believed in, people that he knows that can serve. It's not as if he has not appointed other people but of course, it depends on who fits in which position. And the critics now, what we see, for example, even in this current administration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he is still being criticized of the same lopsided appointments favoring certain region and so on. So in Nigeria, you hardly can be able to balance because people have their sentiments, they have the way that they expect. Unless you appoint them, you are not going to ever be right. And this is the problem we have. Where you can challenge him is to say that the Constitution has provided that he must appoint people he must appoint into certain positions people from so place, but he never did that. And in terms of the spread of ministers and so on, he allowed that to flourish. And you could see that that is the reason why you would really agree with him that he now has the option to bring from wherever people that have served. And even at that, at some point, when the appointments were made, and don't forget, when a president comes from a particular side of the country, he must have enjoyed large followership from there, and people who have actually worked for him, very closely, and people who he knew, compared to other, sides of the country where he may have known fewer people. So in terms of also bringing into government those who will serve, you will see the reflection of that familiarity, playing out. And it's not only with President Buhari, it is with any president, if you look at it. Even President Jonathan was accused of that.
Yes. Even President Tinubu is
exactly.
accused of
So
that.
this is something that I think is the reality of Nigeria. But what we must call on whoever is leading the people in this country is that they must take into consideration the diversity and pluralism of the country, in appointments and in other involvements that concern.
Okay, Mr. Osita, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Towards the tail end of President Buhari's tenure, or second-term tenure, the issue of the new Naira notes came up, and most Nigerians felt at that time that it was not handled the way it should have been. Nigerians went through a lot to exchange money, get money and all that. And so a lot of people made money out of that predicament. So what's your thoughts on that?
Thank you, my sister. It's like what a doctor was saying. The day we should know that Jumai did not tell God where she was born, the family she was born. Because if Jumai was born in Enugu where I was born, you could have been a Christian.
Yeah, sure.
You could have been a Muslim. I'm a Catholic because I was born in a Catholic household.
Yeah, sure.
So is doctor. So when we learn that, we'll do better. In that transaction, the economic design for that transaction might be pragmatic, might be genuine, but it was not pragmatically done. And the timing was also very wrong. Because it's always said that the election period for a country is like a man whose wife is pregnant of delivery. That unless the man is a cruel person, he manages the wife better at that period of her pregnancy so that she could deliver safely. Election was like pregnancy that was about to be delivered, so it was wrongly timed. The design might be genuine, but it wasn't rational.
Yes.
The delivery wasn't rational, it wasn't pragmatic. That's all I could say about that.
And what's the legacy? Okay, please
yes,
chip in.
just in line with what he said, people were pushed to the limit in this country. I think in the whole of my life, I'm quite younger, so I don't know whether they have experienced something like that, but in the whole of my life, that was the time I experienced that all Nigerians are pushed to the limit. You don't have, the network was bad. Even if you go to the ATM, the POS, they will be telling you that network is not working. The cash was not available. The banks were not offering the cash. So where do you go to? I was told a story of one woman who came all the way from Nasarawa to get money here in Abuja because her daughter was dead sick. And she was waiting for some money to be attended to in the hospital. On her way reaching Abuja, she was about to give the money when she was called that she should not withdraw again, that the daughter had passed. All this happened under that circumstance. So it was badly timed, and like he said, the rationality behind that was very poor. It was not designed in such a way that it had taken into consideration the demands and aspirations of Nigerians at that particular time and the concerns. And this had happened because that is why the Constitution had allowed for the appointment of central bank governor, economic advisor. He had a committee of economic advisors they called Economic Advisory Council,
Yes.
something like that. Six of them. And they are supposed to advise. He had the central bank governor. He was supposed to also advise the president.
The Minister of
tell the
Finance.
policy. He had the Minister of Finance. He has the finance advisor, and all of those people. They have a place in the Constitution. It's not his own personal wish to have them there. They are allowed by the Constitution to be there and to advise the president, because the president might not be a financial expert. So he doesn't know that. And so what he is being told, and that is Buhari for you, what he was told, the explanation he was given, was he believed that it was going to be a short time suffering, and then Nigeria would be better than ever before.
Right, thank you. Let me take the last minutes that I have, Mr. Okechukwu, to say, knowing him closely, what would you say he would want to be remembered for the most? One thing.
The beacon is to place public interest above yourself. By nature, we're all selfish. But to control your selfishness and place the Nigerian interest above is the beacon he left us to pursue. Because he gives good governance, he makes for prosperity, he makes for unity of a diverse country like ours, he makes for peace. But immediately you place selfish interest or your own group above the national interest, we're in trouble.
Okay. Your final notes.
Buhari would forever be remembered as absolutely incorruptible.
Doctor, it has been a very, very interesting conversation. Dr. Aminu Hayatu is of the Department of Political Science, Bayero University, Kano. Thank you so much
for
your time. And Mr. Osita Okechukwu, founding member of All Progressives Congress and former Director General Voice of Nigeria. We appreciate you so much for your insight into the legacy of President Muhammadu Buhari, knowing you know him on a personal note, and please accept our deepest condolence.
I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
The celebration.
Yes,
because the world is a transit camp.
Yes, celebration of life. And that's Good Morning Nigeria for today. Another interesting edition will be up tomorrow. I am Juma Yusuf. Thanks for your time.
And I'm Victor, as well. I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.